Question 73. The state of nature and the social contract as given by John Locke. Introduction, Locke and the liberal tradition. John Locke, 1632–1704, often called the father of liberalism, was one of the most influential political philosophers of the 17th century. His ideas on natural rights, limited government, and consent of the governed shaped not only liberal political theory but also modern constitutional democracy, notably influencing the American Declaration of Independence, 1776, and the French Revolution, 1789. Locke's theory of the state of nature and social contract, expounded in his second treatise of civil government, 1690, was a response to the absolute monarchy defended by Thomas Hobbes. Unlike Hobbes, who saw the state as a power to restrain human selfishness, Locke viewed it as a moral and political institution established to protect natural rights. Thus, Locke's philosophy represents the rational and moral foundation of constitutional democracy, a state created by consent, bound by law, and limited by justice. 1. Locke's view of human nature. Locke's understanding of the state of nature begins with his view of man. He believed human beings are rational, social, and moral, capable of living peacefully with one another according to natural reason. According to Locke, humans are not inherently aggressive, as Hobbes claimed, but are guided by a natural moral law that teaches them to respect others' life, liberty, and property. In his words, the state of nature has a law of nature to govern it, which obliges everyone, and reason, which is that law, teaches all mankind that being equal and independent, no one ought to harm another in his life, health, liberty, or possessions. Hence, the state of nature in Locke's view is not a state of war but a state of peace, goodwill, and mutual assistance, though it has certain inconveniences that lead people to form civil society. 2. The state of nature, I, meaning and nature. The state of nature is a pre-political condition, a situation where no government or human-made laws exist, but individuals still live according to the law of nature, which is reason. Locke describes it as a state of perfect freedom to order their actions and dispose of their possessions and persons as they think fit, within the bounds of the law of nature. Thus, it is a state of freedom and equality, governed not by force but by natural law and moral reason. 2. Characteristics of the state of nature. 1. Freedom. Every individual is free to act and make decisions without interference, so long as they do not violate the rights of others. Freedom here means not license, but rational self-governance. Example. In the state of nature, one could farm land or trade freely, but not steal or harm others. 2. Equality. All individuals are born equal, without subordination or superiority. Locke rejected the divine right of kings, arguing that no one has a natural claim to rule over another. 3. Natural law. Reason is the law of nature, teaching individuals what is right and wrong. It commands mutual respect for life, liberty, and property. 4. Natural rights. Locke's most original contribution is the doctrine of natural rights. Every person possesses three basic rights by birth. Right to life, right to liberty, right to property. These rights are inalienable, no authority can take them away, because they are granted by nature, not by the state. 5. Moral order, not chaos. Unlike Hobbes' violent state of war, Locke's state of nature is largely peaceful, but lacks a neutral authority to resolve disputes. 6. Existence of inconveniences. Though moral and orderly, the state of nature has practical difficulties. No impartial judge to decide right and wrong. No common authority to enforce natural law. No fixed laws to settle disputes. Hence, individuals face insecurity and uncertainty regarding their rights. 3. The emergence of property and its role in the state of nature. Locke gave great importance to property as a natural right. According to him, property originates when a person mixes his labor with natural resources. For example, when one tills the soil or picks fruit, it becomes his by right. He wrote, "Every man has a property in his own person, the labor of his body and the work of his hands are properly his." However, the enjoyment of property in the state of nature was insecure, since there was no authority to protect it. This insecurity of property became a major reason for forming the civil state. 4. The social contract formation of the civil society. To overcome the inconveniences of the state of nature, individuals voluntarily agree to form a political community. This agreement is called the social contract. Locke's social contract is a two-step process. First, contract formation of society. Individuals collectively agree to form a community to protect their natural rights and promote mutual welfare. This transforms them from isolated individuals into members of a civil society. 2. Second contract establishment of government. The community then agrees to set up a government and entrusts it with certain powers to enforce laws and protect rights. However, these powers are limited. The government acts as a trustee, bound to serve the people's interests. Thus, Locke's contract is not between ruler and ruled, but between citizens themselves, forming a government through mutual consent. 5. Purpose of the social contract. Locke believed that the chief purpose of government is to protect the natural rights of its citizens, especially the right to life, liberty, and property. In his own words, "The great and chief end of men's uniting into commonwealths and putting themselves under government is the preservation of their property. Therefore, the government's authority is conditional upon fulfilling this purpose. When it fails, the contract is broken, and citizens have a right to resist or replace it." 6. Nature and limits of government. Locke's government is a limited and constitutional government. Its powers are not absolute but restricted by the law of nature. The government cannot violate natural rights. 2. Consent of the governed. It must act according to the will of the majority. 3. Separation of powers. Locke advocated dividing government into legislative and executive organs to prevent tyranny. 4. Accountability. Government exists as a trust, and when it betrays that trust, people have the right to revolution. This principle became the foundation of modern liberal democracy and constitutionalism. Example: Locke's justification for the glorious Revolution of 1688 in England, where King James II was overthrown, rested on this idea: when rulers violate the people's trust, they forfeit legitimacy. 7. Right to resist or revolt. One of Locke's most significant contributions is his defense of the right to rebellion against unjust authority. He argued that, when the legislators act contrary to the trust reposed in them, the people are absolved from obedience. Thus, if a government becomes despotic, violating life, liberty, or property, citizens have a moral and political right to overthrow it. This doctrine profoundly influenced revolutionary movements and liberal constitutions around the world, from America, 1776, to France, 1789, to India, 1947. 8. Comparison with Hobbes and Rousseau, explained contextually. Locke's social contract differs significantly from Hobbes' authoritarian and Rousseau's radical versions. Hobbes' state of nature is equal to state of war. Social contract to ensure security through absolute sovereignty. Locke, state of nature is equal to state of peace. Social contract to protect natural rights under limited government. Rousseau, state of nature is equal to primitive innocence. Social contract to express the general will and ensure equality. Thus, Locke's theory represents the moderate and rational liberal tradition, balancing freedom with order and law with rights. 9. Practical relevance and influence. Locke's ideas laid the intellectual foundation of modern constitutional democracy. His principles, natural rights, consent, limited government, and the right to resist, shaped political thought for centuries. Examples of influence. The American Declaration of Independence, 1776, echoes Locke's words. All men are created equal, with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The French Declaration of the Rights of Man, 1789, upholds liberty and property as natural rights. The Indian Constitution reflects Locke's ideas through Fundamental Rights, Part 3, and Popular Sovereignty. Hence, Locke's theory is not merely philosophical but also practically transformative. 10. Summary for quick understanding. John Locke viewed the state of nature as a condition of freedom, equality, and natural law, where individuals enjoyed natural rights: life, liberty, and property. However, due to the inconveniences of this state, lack of impartial authority, individuals entered into a social contract to form a civil society and government. The purpose of this government was to protect natural rights, and its power remained limited and conditional upon consent. If the government violated its trust, people had the right to resist and replace it. Locke's theory thus forms the moral and constitutional foundation of modern liberal democracies. Quick revision notes. Thinker, John Locke, 1632–1704. Work, Two Treatises of Government, 1690. State of nature, peaceful, rational, governed by natural law. Natural rights, life, liberty, property. Social contract, voluntary agreement to form society and government. Purpose of government, protection of natural rights. Nature of government, limited, constitutional, based on consent. Right to resistance, people may overthrow a government that violates trust. Influence, American and French revolutions, modern democracy. One-line questions and answers for revision. 1. Who is the author of two treatises of government? John Locke. 2. What is Locke's state of nature? A state of freedom, equality, and reason governed by natural law. 3. What are the three natural rights according to Locke? Life, liberty, and property. 4. Why did people leave the state of nature? To secure their rights more effectively through government. 5. What is the purpose of government in Locke's theory? Protection of natural rights. 6. What is the nature of Locke's government? Limited and based on consent. 7. What happens if the government violates its trust? The people have a right to revolt. 8. How does Locke's view differ from Hobbes'? Hobbes supports absolute power, Locke supports limited. Constitutional authority. 9. Which revolution did Locke justify philosophically? The Glorious Revolution, 1688. 10. Which modern document reflects Locke's ideas? The American Declaration of Independence, 1776. Final connection. John Locke's theory of the state of nature and social contract transforms political thought from the obedience of subjects to the rights of citizens. He made liberty, equality, and property the moral foundation of political authority, and consent the basis of legitimacy. In doing so, Locke gave birth to the modern idea of a constitutional government, one that exists not to rule over men, but to protect their natural rights, ensuring that the state remains forever the servant of the people, not their master.